our distinguished guests, and all other invited personalities, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome once again. What we're going to start now is the annual general meeting of the NFUK, during which we are going to take some reports from the Secretary General as well as our Treasurer. As you know, we are a charity registered in the United Kingdom. As such, we have to give account of our stewardship, especially of the executive body, to our members during this occasion. And as a result of this, I will call on now Dr. Mukhtar Ahmad to come forward to present the report for the Secretary's annual report. Thank you, Dr. Mukhtar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I won't take much of your time because the whole purpose of today is largely the conference, but as the Chairman said, it's important that we give account for our stewardship over the last year. It's nearly a year now since we met in Newcastle, which was quite a watershed for us because we went back to the drawing board to ask our members to tell us what they wanted us to do in the future. And that's what I'm going to talk about and build on how we progressed from those plans to what we've managed to achieve and what the plans are for the future. The resolutions of last year's conference was the first thing I was going to talk about. Then the development plan meeting, which we held in Sheffield to discuss that. And then Dr. Abdullah Shehu hosted us at his home in Coventry to harmonize all the suggestions that were made at Sheffield. Then we'll go through our activities in the UK and the activities of the forum in Nigeria over the last year. And we'll also talk about how we plan to reorganize the structure of the forum to help deliver better in the future. We'd also discuss the challenges we have faced and our plans for next year. Now, it's quite a busy table, but I've just put it on to show what we did in Newcastle. So we had 6 round tables. I'll start from the top. The yellow one was a revenue generation round table because no charity can function without money. And that's a big part of what determines our success. So this roundtable was facilitated by Dr. Ibrahim Malamfashi. I don't think he's here today. Then we had a green table, which was on reviving the forum, how we could move things forward. And we had lots of suggestions from that, which I won't go through for the purpose of time. And then we had a liaison roundtable, which wanted to look at how we could keep the interest of our former members who have returned to Nigeria particularly. And we had a blue round table which looked at community projects. What were the sorts of things that we should look at doing in Nigeria? There was a red round table which was facilitated by Dr. Daira Garkwa, who looked at Terbiya in the UK and how we could help foster the culture that we want to bring our children up in and raise families that will be a credit to Islam and contribute meaningfully to the community that we live in the UK. And we had a sisters roundtable to look at any issues that weren't covered by any of the other 5 tables that were of particular interest to our sisters. Then we met in Sheffield, 5th to 6th of May at the Holiday Inn to discuss, to try to bring together there were so many suggestions, many of them quite interesting, but we have got to focus on what we can achieve with our meager resources. So we had over 40 delegates. Many of them are here today, amongst the founding members of the forum, former executive members and trustees and experts in various fields within the Nigerian community in the UK. And we convened to critically assess the aspirations suggested by members. We did an analysis of strength, weakness, opportunities and threats, and used that to determine what was feasible and what could remain an aspiration but not something we would seek to deliver in the short to medium term. And we set up 5 committees: finance, publicity, the forum in the UK, the forum in Nigeria, and reorganisation of the forum. And the forum in the UK, we agreed that this is our primary constituency because many of our members are settled here, they have families here, and our primary purpose was to help our members integrate amongst themselves and within the larger British society and contribute meaningfully to that. And it was agreed that we should do this through strengthening the regional chapters of the forum and to start, as they say, charity begins at home, to start that here in the UK with, we discussed a bereavement fund because there have been a few tragic cases of, deaths amongst the community where the families have struggled to cope with it, not necessarily financially, but in terms of unexpected deaths. How do you reach out and help them to organise that? So that's something that's in the pipeline, not quite there yet. And there were quite a few which I found quite heartrending. There are many Nigerian Muslims in prison in the UK. Many of them ostracised by their families because of the stigma that we know is associated with being in prison in our society back home. Many of them have been disowned, and it's largely the mothers, as usual, that have been left alone to deal with it, and the fathers have washed their hands off completely. So there was a suggestion to set up a prison outreach and to take advantage of the programme by the government of rehabilitation of convicts, which the forum could actually get some revenue from if we took up the rehabilitation of convicts and get into the parole system and you get paid with the results. If they don't reoffend after a certain length of time, you get a certain sort of commission for that. In terms of projects in Nigeria, we decided we'd concentrate on 2 main areas: orphan sponsorship. Those that were at the dinner yesterday would have heard quite a bit about this, and the mobile clinic project in conjunction with the rural health outreach program, which has already started, and the disaster relief, which is an ongoing fund, but which I'll talk about later, and to also set up the Nigerian chapter. In terms of reorganisation, a new structure has been agreed by the existing trustees, drawn largely from our elders amongst the UK community who have agreed to serve as trustees, and a management committee made up of the younger ones, if I dare say, amongst us, who will do the day-to-day running around. And that gives us a more respectable face in the community and a more stable leadership. Just to highlight just a few changes. It's a busy slide, but I'll explain quickly what it actually entails. Previously, the executive committee, which is ourselves, were the trustees of the organisation, and we have agreed to change this, as I said earlier, to for the trust committee to be made up largely of settled members. And I'll invite the Emir shortly to introduce the new trustees that have been nominated, pending the approval of the AGM. So we have agreed they'll be the highest body responsible for the given general direction, and they will be responsible to the Charity Commission for the way the charity is run and the way its funds are deployed. And so that's the key change to that. Now, in terms of officers, according to this, we have agreed that they will have a chair. There will be a managing trustee who will chair the management committee, and this will be somebody who will have the leeway to oversee the day-to-day running of the organisation, and to oversee a management committee that will have as many members that are required to reduce the burden of running a charity on a completely voluntary basis. And there will be other trustees, but a maximum of 9. The nominated trustees are listed on here, and I'll invite the Emir to explain why, with the chairman's permission, the reasons why they were suggested as the ongoing trustees, and they would, once they meet, agree if they want to invite a couple more trustees to fill up the other 9 positions.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So the nominated trustees, without wasting much time, as you can see, there is Dr. Abdullah Sheikh to serve as chairman. If Dr. Abdullah Sheikh can stand so that people can see him, please. Dr. Abdullah Sheikh is a founding member of the Nigeria Muslim Forum. He was the former chairman of the UK's Medical and Dental Medical and Dental Council. He was former chairman of the Health Committee of the Muslim Council of Britain. He is a neurosurgeon, if I'm correct, neurologist at Coventry, and he's a highly experienced clinician here in the UK and highly respected member of the community. So thank you very much for accepting the nomination. The second person is Alhaji Garba Sani. Alhaji Garba Sani was a founding member of the Nigeria Muslim Forum, a founding treasurer of the Nigeria Muslim Forum, and has always been with us day and night. No matter the difficulty, he never ran away. Thank you, Alhaji Garba. The next person nominated is Dr. Bukar Wobi. Dr. Bukar Wobi is not yet here, but he will be here. Dr. Bukar Wobi is one of the most passionate individuals you can ever find. Yeah, his name is there on the number 3. Number 3. Number 3, Alhaji Bashir Shua. Thank you very much. The third person is Alhaji Bashir Shua. Please, if you can stand up. Alhaji Bashir Shua, I can say, there is a statement that used to say the young old, but Alhaji Bashir Shua is the old young. In the last 3 months, every Sunday he chaired our meeting of the planning committee. We have seen a lot together with him. We were younger, he is a father to us, but he worked with us. Thank you very much, Alhaji Bashir Shua. And then Dr. Bukar Wobi, who gave an inspiring remark yesterday at the fundraising dinner. Dr. Bukar Wobi is one of the people who love Nigeria at heart. He lives with it and wakes up with it. And I hope when he's here, inshallah, we'll introduce him so that people can see more of him. The next person is Dr. Falalu Dahiru Danwata. Dr. Falalu Dahiru Danwata and the former executives of the Nigeria Muslim Forum, he was a former secretary of the forum. And I should say they were the people who actually drafted me into the Nigeria Muslim Forum in 2005. So thank you for that contribution. Then we have Dr. Dahiru Gerkwa, who is also coming from Newcastle. Dr. Dahiru Gerkwa is a very unique person, and I hope we will have an opportunity for you to see him. He is a medical consultant here in the UK. Every year, he takes part of his holiday, at least 4 weeks, to go and spend it with the local community in Bauchi State, giving free operation and medical expertise. A lot of the people, actually, it becomes so useful that whenever he arrives, whenever people in Bauchi hear that Dr. Dahiru Gerkwa is coming on holiday, people will already start queuing up in his father's house. The moment he comes, before he drops his bag, probably he will only have to greet his father and then go into the hospital and work with people free of charge. So these are the people nominated as trustees, and they have, the Constitution allows for inclusion of other members. If they decide that when they take office to add members, they are free to do so. And we thank them for being with us, come rain or shine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Jamil. I've spoken about the management committee already, and once they'll have the set 9 maximum, and then we've agreed that we'll have the secretary and the treasurer attending their meetings to brief them, and any other officers that they ask to join them. We'll just ask, for the purposes of governance, the chairman's, for the chairman to ask for a show of hands if there's any opposition to these changes that we have made, either for one show of hands for the trustees and one show of hands for the changes that we've outlined.
Okay, so now to vote, yeah?
You're on.
Thank you very much. As been pointed out by the Secretary General, can we now say that we have approved the nomination of the trustees as being presented by the Amir? Can we, by show of hand, by the members, now accept the nomination, please? Thank you very much. It's been accepted then.
And the changes made?
Second. Yeah. And as a result of this nomination, there has been a few modifications and changes in the Constitution to provide for these offices. So shall we now also acknowledge and ratify the changes made, please, by show of hand also? Thank you very much. So, as you can see, Secretary General, the House has approved both the membership as well as the nomination as recommended.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'll go through the rest of the report quickly. I'm conscious that we're ahead of time. This map just shows briefly what the existing regional structure is of the forum. The ones in red are the ones that have been set up but haven't had their regional executives established yet. And we hope Sheikh Pantami is here today. We hope when he returns to Aberdeen, he'll spearhead the establishment of the Aberdeen chapter. In terms of activities, all the chapters have been involved in fundraising and mosques, food fairs and fundraising dinners. We've had Eid gatherings, which have been a very good way of bringing the community together. Led by the Newcastle chapter, we have seen classes become a regular part, which have been quite informative. Now, the disaster relief that I spoke about, we set up a fund earlier in the year to focus on providing relief in the 5 states that were judged worst affected by the ongoing crisis in the northern part of Nigeria. And the Treasurer will speak more about how the funds were dispersed in his report. The orphan sponsorship scheme the Amir spoke about yesterday at the fundraising dinner, and we have 23 orphans on sponsorship at the moment, 13 on educational sponsorship and 10 on full sponsorship, £25 a month, covering food, education and health. There's a committee set up to spearhead this. Each orphan has a nominated guardian that oversees the disbursement of these funds and checks that they are being applied appropriately. And the sponsors will receive twice biannual reports about the adopted orphan and will have access to the guardian, and a visit can be arranged if they wish to do so. The picture on the bottom right is meant to be the most the sort of elite orphanage in Kano. This is the one where they actually have somewhere to sit and a roof over their heads. And you can see this is not how we wish to bring up our own children. The Treasurer spearheaded the collection of Zakat al-Fitr from our members, which is difficult in this country because there are not many people that go without food here in the UK. So we collect it and send it back, and we managed to cover 24 states, you can see, including at least a state in every of the 6 geographical zones. The health outreach program, we spoke about at length yesterday. Our pilot was held in Kibia in August, and we treated over 1,000 patients. It was sponsored, as shown on the pie chart to the right, 59% by the forum itself. We partnered with another charity, the Africa Healthcare Development Trust, and the local sponsors, led by Senator UK Umar and Alhaji A. Iranu, contributed 32% of the cost of that. There were 27 eye operations, which are set were sort of quite, the most remarkable sort of instant results of blind people regaining their sight. And this is the breakdown. You can see the vast majority of women and children. And just to conclude, our plans for next year, what we've agreed was to carry out quarterly health outreach programs, to develop an orphanage project, to actually adopt an orphanage that we will seek to run through our partner charities in Nigeria, to acquire one of the mobile clinic platforms that we discussed yesterday, to establish a Nigerian chapter which is in full swing. They're seeking registration with the Corporate Affairs Commission at the moment, and then to organize a national UK family event. This gathering normally has families involved as well, and our members, were quite missing this because we couldn't provide the facilities for children here, but we promise our members that inshallah we'll organize a separate family event that will be focused on families, and to start the prison outreach program that we discussed previously, and to discuss more, to open more UK chapters. And just to conclude, while I've been speaking, Dr. Bukar Wobi has entered the hall. If you would please rise so that the other members could recognize him.
One of the trustees.
Dr. Wobi has been nominated as a trustee. Your nomination as a trustee was accepted in your absence. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah, thank you very much. I will call on Alhaji Garba Shehu now to introduce some, Garba Shani, sorry, apologies, to introduce some of our guests who have arrived while the Secretary General was making his presentation. Alhaji Garba.
Yeah, this is just briefly to announce the arrival and presence of the Chairman, Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs of Nigeria, Dr. Detti Ahmed, in our presence today. Beg your pardon. Supreme Council for Sharia in Nigeria. And also the representative of the Nigerian High Commission has arrived in the presence of Mr. Emil Isa, if you can. And just briefly also, we have Dr. Jibril, who is who has been also a founding member and has been quite a supportive member of the Nigerian Muslim Forum. Jibril, please.
Thank you very much, Alhaji Garba. We have to rush now and take the report by the Treasurer, and that will now give you an account of, what we have generated, how we expanded and utilized the funds that has been generated. As you know, being a charity registered is just like a business entity in which we have to give account to the shareholders. You are our shareholders, being the donors, and members who do provide their fund through subscription. So now I call on Alhaji Mahmoud Dodo to present his account of how we utilized our funds during the year under review. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you very much, Chairman. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all with the Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. The peace, blessings, and mercy of God be upon all of you. I present the summary of financial report for the year till November 30, from 1st January to 30th November.
Is your voice a bit?
Sorry?
Your voice. Or closer to the mic. So that one, the one on the left, right here.
I begin with the financial highlights. NMF UK financial year runs from January to 31st December. The Charities Commission is very flexible on that. Charities are given the chance to fix their own financial year. when they
Please,
so
can I call the attention of members to observe a little bit silence as we are now getting a report from the treasurer, please. It's very important that we listen and take note of what the treasurer has presented. Thank you.
The bank balance as of 30th November stands at 3,860, and we have authorized signatories regularized with the HMRC for gift aid reclaim, and the annual returns for financial year ending 31st December will be submitted to the Charities Commission at the end of the year. Although we are actually, by law, not required to do so until the second year of our operation. But we feel that since our income has improved from £5,000 per annum to over £10,000 per annum, it is a requirement by the Charities Commission. So, next please. The figures we have for the year till 30th November, we divide our income into two: restricted funds and unrestricted funds. The total receipt for restricted funds up to 30th November is £12,600. Restricted funds, 10,695, and the total so far up to 30th November is, as at the time I wrote this report, £23,000. Payments, unrestricted payments, £12,400. Restricted payments, £7,025. So the balances arising from the two, 190 for unrestricted funds and 3,600 for restricted funds. People may like to know what I mean by restricted funds. These are donations we receive, which are specifically set up for specific purposes. Like, for example, Zakat al-Fitr collection, orphan sponsorship scheme. Whatever amount is donated for such purposes is spent 100% on such purposes. Other donations like monthly donations, fundraising dinners, we will now use for running the offices, health care scheme and so on. So what are our sources of funds? We have 6 sources of funds. Monthly donation from members. We also organize fundraising dinner. We do a small masjid collection this year. And for the first time, we ran a radio appeal where we solicited for funds for orphans. And we also run Just Giving services. This is a text service seeking for donation from members. And the last on the list is gift aid. We will now be applying for gift aid from HMRC in the next few weeks. So we still have some funding opportunities. Not only do we want to embark on healthcare, rural healthcare outreach program, but we want to go on advocacy. So in conjunction, in partnership with other charities and advocacy groups, we have the chance to seek for funding from DFID. We want to invigorate the fundraising scheme through Just Giving, actively pursue fundraising dinners from all big cities across the UK. We want to explore fundraising through social networking. And we also want to go into television live appeal, possibly during the Muslim fasting period. I want to mention some facts about charitable charities generally in the UK. There are over 160,000 charities in the UK, in England and Wales. In the last 1 year, over 5,700 was registered. NMF UK was among the 5,000 registered last year. 50% of these charities earned income of less than £10,000 last year. NMF UK was in this 50%. But this year, we have moved from this 50%. We are now in the top 50% since we have earned an income of over £23,000. So the gross annual income of registered main and group charities stand at £55 billion. With the figure I have quoted of 23,000, if you are interested in statistics, the contribution of NMF UK to that is 0.00004. I don't know how you can help me remove some of the zeros. But yesterday, we ran a fundraising dinner. And with the support of all those who attended, we realized $3,200 and £2,160. So our income will improve from 23,000 to about £27 this year. We have a lot of tasks to do in order to maintain this, not only to maintain this income level, but also to improve upon it so that we can embark upon various projects in Nigeria and in the UK. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate that even though our account has not been in the red, we have been able to manage our account properly and match it with the expenditure as being pointed out by the treasurer, and we are very glad that we've been able to do so much with so little that we've had. But before I go on, Alhaji Garba Sani will have the privilege of introducing one of our very important guests who we are unable to do out of oversight, and we do apologize, but now I will hand over the microphone to Alhaji Garba, please, to introduce this very important personality who is in our midst.
Yes, we're happy to announce the presence of the Deputy Ambassador, Nigerian Ambassador in Germany, in the presence of Mr. Rabiu Shehu, who is in our midst. Please.
Thank you, Your Excellency. You're most welcome to this occasion. And without much further ado, I will call on the General Assembly. Please, we are running out of time. If you have any comment, but it will have to be very brief, or any question, but since we're running out of time, we want to start the conference proper. Dr. Falalu Damota, and I'm seeing you raising your hand. I think I'll just give this chance to him to ask or make the explanation, and then we go forward and commence the program proper.
Assalamu alaikum. I wanted to point out the other primary function of Nigeria Muslim Forum, which is supporting students that come from Nigeria to acclimatize and to get to know their way around in pursuing their educational purpose. Primarily, when Nigeria Muslim Forum started, that was the main focus, and we still will want to maintain that, because acclimatizing to the environment and also trying to remind people of their role when they go back to Nigeria. Because if you look at what is happening in Nigeria, is people are forgetting their community role. Sometimes the little resource that we have here trying to do something back home, sometimes people back home wonder why we worry. I think that primary role of reminding ourselves, reminding the students, reminding the graduates that go back, and continuing to remind each other back home is very, very, very important. Assalamu alaikum.